taking the time to arrive, eyes softly closed, nowhere to be right now, nothing to accomplish, nothing to gain, and nothing to lose. I am a simple, conscious being. A breathing being, aware of my body, aware of the sense of touch that pervades this body, aware of the back touching the seat, perhaps the legs touching the floor, lips touching one another. The air touching the nostrils as I move to become aware of the breathing. Effortlessly I sit. Breathing takes place. I watch. I, a simple, conscious being, watching the body, watching the senses, highlighted by the sense of touch, watching the breathing. Now I watch that which is watching the body and the breathing, namely the mind. Simply, I watch. Neither chasing after the thoughts, nor chasing them away. I just watch. The body, mind, sense complex. That by which I watch the mind is my Swarupa, Satchidananda, Brahma. No one can watch this watcher. This self-revealing I that is conscious of itself, conscious of everything else. Cannot be watched, need not be watched because it is self-revealing. No sorrow, no fear can touch me, this I, the unwatched watcher. No samsara touches me, the I, who is the unwatched witness. I give the name samsara to all conditions that can affect the body, the mind, but not me. I'm free, I'm whole, I'm secure and safe. I'm joyous without needing to be kept in a good mood. I'm Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma. I'm that Atma, the self that is always there, unchanging, witness of everything, that which comes to know everything, free of raga, dvesha, papa, punya, free of samsara. This is the truth of I that I set out to discover in time spent with myself like these and through the study of Vedanta. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste to all. Welcome to the second session, I think, on Advaita in daily life. How do we manage to live the life that is advocated by the Shastras, that we always think is an embellishment to a jnani, and then this is nothing to do with the run-of-the-mill Vedantin, that is the feeling. The run-of-the-mill Vedantin has nothing to do with this. This is all Jnani Lakshana, characteristics of the Jnani. So what can I do? I can just sit at the feet of the Jnani and hope to absorb something, or just sit at the feet of the Jnani and admire the Jnani. But that is not the that is not the trajectory. That is not the destiny. And that is not the purport, the tatparya of the Shastra. The Shastra doesn't want you to keep pressing the Jnani's feet in the hope that some knowledge will rub off. Yes, Shraddha will help, Guru's presence will help, sitting in front of the Guru will also help to to a certain extent. It will help to assimilate the knowledge, but that assimilation has to happen before the phala, the fruits of the knowledge, which is Advaita expressed in daily life, can become a reality, can become an everyday reality. This is what we are studying. And to aid us in our ambitious quest, we are going to rely on the last few verses, 6 or 7 verses of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, because that will just be a nice what is that, cliff notes to 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 basically uh, to basically get to a place of reconciliation of all the duality that resides within and that threatens to rear its head all the time. Because there is no point in studying Vedanta. I mean, Vedanta is wonderful. And when you hear the descriptions of a knowledgeable person, one is so happy and one is just so delighted. Oh, this is very nice. This is where I'm headed. This is great. But then the climb appears to be steep, because there is whatever is studied in the Shastra, even though the Shastra yells from the rooftops, screams from the rooftop that this is you, this is your reality. But still there seems to be some kind of a disconnect between one's everyday reality and the message of the Shastra. So, what if there is a divide? One may think, well, the divide itself causes some difficulty. And what are the difficulties that the divide causes? These are, we can make a list of the difficulties. First of all, there is hopelessness. I can never be like the saints that I study about in the history books, in the Shastra, in the Upanishads. There is that gap. I can never be like what the Shastra says is my destiny. So first of all, that is a very big, that's a very big thing to climb over. That despair, the dejection, the hopelessness makes one not even want to try sometimes. So that is the first block. Then the second block is connected to that. It's a relative, it's the younger brother or sister of the first block. It's a sibling of the first block. And what is that? That is having to do with a certain override, like pressing the override button and taking that the fact that there are these two realities, the empirical everyday reality where the duality is faced, no doubt, but it is internalized, and one suffers as a result of not the duality but its wrong internalization. And so this is taken for granted. This is how it is. Yes, Vedanta is wonderful, it is great, it is, it makes me happy to study it, but don't ask me to be it, because it's just not possible. And look around you, who is modeling the truths of the Upanishad? Who is modeling the lifestyle of a jnani? Jnani means a person who has discovered the truth of herself, himself. Who is modeling? Nobody. And so, really, we get used to this divide, which is actually dangerous, because that feeds into, as I said, the hopelessness and the dejection discussed earlier. Then the third block is also very interesting. The third block to assimilating this knowledge on the everyday level is the identification with the body, the mind, and the senses. I shouldn't even say identification, I should use the word over identification. To some extent, the identification is necessary, it is good, because you are, after all, the managing trustee of the body mind sense complex. You have to wake up, you have to take care of the body, you have to give it a bath, you have to feed it, you have to make it go to work or work from home, work from bed, whatever it is, and you have to make it do things that sometimes it doesn't like to do. Same thing with the mind, you have to override the mind, and then you have to get through this. So there is this divide, and the third block has to do with taking the body mind sense complex too seriously. Every feeling is blogged about. There are these things called blogs. Like in the olden times, people had a diary. They kept a diary, and then they would threaten their siblings and their parents with all kinds of dire consequences if that diary was ever read. This was a private affair. This was a very healthy way of just venting the feelings. But now the venting has taken a public stage, where you make a website called a blog, and then it's got some name also, that particular site, WordPress. Yeah, so you open one something in the WordPress, and you press out all the words in the mind, and then every feeling is sanctified. Every feeling is elevated to the level of being the king of the mind, the king of the body mind sense complex. Where is the room for Bhagavan? Because really, as we have seen in other satsangs and everything so far, for this jnanam to enter and make a home, the jnanam entering and making the home in the heart is nothing short of Bhagavan entering the heart. But where was this Bhagavan before she entered the heart? Was already in the heart. Entry is as though. The as though entry, it was already there. It was already there, but not visible, obfuscated, whose darshan, whose view was obfuscated by the prevailing notions and this very over identification with the feelings, with the body, with the mind that we are talking about. This is the third block. And this third block often expresses itself in certain excuses. Yes, I'm a Vedantin, but after all I'm a human being. This after all I'm a human being, therefore I am entitled. This after all I'm a human being means ... And what is this ... translates as, therefore I am entitled to my feelings. Okay, be entitled, but don't parade them and don't take them for, to be real. That's what we are saying. So, after all, I am a human being, so I may be a jnani or a jnani wannabe, but I am entitled to human emotions. I am entitled to my feelings. I am entitled to all these things. And this entitlement is who is speaking here? It's the ahankara, the I notion, that is grabbing hold of everything small and identifying with it. This is one of the consequences of over identification. This is what happens. And therefore the knowledge that one studies in the satsangs, through the study of the retreat, through participation in retreats, and through the study of the Upanishad, remains at some other ideal typical level, whereas the reality is, of course, one is living in mithya and calling it the reality. Mithya doesn't mean non-existence or unreal. It is a dependent reality, where every feeling is given airtime, like a fashion show. Every feeling is a model that wears a new costume and hits the runway, and then the ahankara claps and says, "Yay, wonderful, you are great." So, this excuse, I am a human being, therefore I cannot always live this reality. I mean, not even always. This reality I cannot live. This is a spoof. Because if you look at it carefully, who else is going to live the reality other than you as a human being? If one were a dog or cat, this is not possible and not even advisable, because they are free. They are free of the complex centered on the self. They are not interested in wanting to gain this knowledge, because they don't have a complex. The knowledge is useless for them because they don't have the complex centered on the self, that I am nobody and I have to be better. All these complexes are not there. And so therefore, if you are not a human being, then we would not be having this discussion. And so, if you are a human being, welcome to Vedanta. That's all I have to say. And if you are welcoming Vedanta in your life, you cannot welcome Vedanta in your life without welcoming Vedanta into your heart. There is no other way. This is not some kind of an item. Vedanta is not an item to kind of polish once in a while and put it in the showcase. People have some kind of glass cases in their houses. This is very common in India. Every house has got some kind of a showcase where all the artifacts, the trophies, gained by the children and everything are exhibited, displayed. Whatever is dear to you is displayed there. And so, along with some trophy you got, is a Vedanta book, Upanishad. Why Upanishad? Because that was the last Upanishad we studied. And so, this is also displayed. It is not a matter for display as something outside of you. It is something to display as something that is emanating from you. So the excuse that I am a human being, therefore I am entitled to human emotions, and Vedanta doesn't recognize human emotions, which is again a myth. And so therefore I cannot do this. This is a nice excuse, but busted, not something to understand, not something to be taken seriously. Then the final block, I mean, there are many blocks, but this is, in our discussion, this will be the final block that we look at. The final block is the is the opposite of all these that we have been studying. Is here the person is someone who thinks, after studying Vedanta, I have been there and done that. Adveshta sarva bhutanam, no hatred towards anybody, check. And Maitri, check. Karuna, check. And then Nirmamaha, check. This is all the words of the verse we are going to look at. Nirahankaraha, check. Samadukhaha, sukhaha, yes, check. Kshami, check. Santushtaha, of course, check. Satatam yogi, check. Check. So the one who feels, I'm already there. And that also is a danger. And that's why we have to count it as a block. There is a certain aloofness that somehow wrongly comes with Vedanta, that I'm above everything, I'm above all feelings. Even if you pinch me, I won't say ow. Why? Because I'm a jnani. Go ahead, test, pinch, let's see if I say anything. See, I didn't say anything. I'm beyond. One fellow in in California named himself Swami Beyond Ananda. Actually, he's a cartoonist. And so that's what it is. I'm beyond even Satchidananda. I'm beyond everything. Beyond Vedanta. Of course, been there, done that, nothing more is left. This is a lie that one tells oneself, again because of some pressure to accomplish something, or because of some wrong understanding of how a Vedantin should be. Because we hear in the Shastra, Harsha Shokau Jahati Dhiraha, Kathopanishad. The dhira, the wise person, gives up sorrow and joy. Oh, I have to be like that. Okay, see, there is some inner pressure. So, how to give up sorrow and joy? Let's start with joy first. Okay, you won the lottery. Uh-huh. And then what? Same. We have to be the same with regard to sorrow. You won the lottery. Big jackpot you won. Okay. Your partner, unfortunately they died. Okay. They think this is the idea of a jnani, that there is some kind of a stoicism associated with the study and expression of Vedanta, that one has to get to this because of the wrong understanding of verses such as these. Harsha shokau jahati, same as samadukha sukha. Samadukha sukha. As we will see, the one who has equanimity with regard to joy and sorrow, is not joy and sorrow we are talking about. A close look, as we shall see, reveals that it is circumstances that can cause joy or sorrow. So equanimity with regard to the circumstances and with regard to one's own reactions. This is, this is what the last block is, the wrong understanding or internalization of what a jnani is, based on some subjective parameters of what I think an enlightened person should be like, which has nothing to do with the description of the jnani. It's the wrongly understood description. So these are the blocks to assimilating Vedanta in one's everyday life. And these verses that we are going to study, and I'm going to take some time doing this because there is no rush, and this is an ongoing monthly meeting which everybody can come and connect with it. And so the verses that we are going to study are going to remove these blocks one by one and allow Vedanta to percolate in the heart like good coffee, and so that it is internalized, and Vedanta is flavorful, and Vedanta expresses itself more and more in one's everyday life. This is what matters. So then let us look at the first verse, which is the 13th verse of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitrah karuna eva cha nirmamo nirahankarah samadukha sukha kshami. This is the first verse. And it is very clear, this is Jnani Lakshana. Jnani Lakshana, even though the refrain, as I spoke last time, is that Yo mad bhaktaha same priyaha. It is not there in the 13th verse, but from the 14th verse onwards we will have a particular refrain. And what is that refrain? Such a devotee that has been described in the first 3 quarters of this verse is extremely dear to me. This is Lord Krishna speaking. So it is very clear that, from the first 3 quarters of each verse that we are going to look at, including the one I just chanted, that the bhakta that is talked about here, the devotee that is talked about here, is not just a regular devotee, is what is called rather a jnani bhakta, a devotee who has self-knowledge. So self-knowledge and devotion, we think, do not go together, but that is again a misconception. When self-knowledge is internalized, when I understand the truth of myself as whole and free, I cannot help but be devoted to that Ishwara that I know I am an extension of, I am an expression of. All that is here is Ishvara. I am non-separate from Ishvara, so it is the attitude itself is one of devotion, not only to this entity called Ishvara as the giver of the fruits of action, as the manifester of the laws of the universe, but as the truth of every single thing manifest in the universe, including this body mind sense complex. So we are talking of a different kind of a devotee, as a jnani, as a jnani. And so um, so the whole thing here is the description of the jnani's everyday life, which is obviously a matter of great curiosity for everybody else. And so it begins with a big bang. Adveshta sarva bhutanam, the one that has no hatred, dvesha, hatred, prejudiced mind, dvesha, prejudice. Adveshtru, so the one who is not the agent of hatred. Dveshtru, hater. Adveshtru, the one who is a non-hater. With regard to what? Sarva bhutanam, everything that there is. There is no hatred in the mind of the jnani with regard to anything, any situation, any person in the universe, the one who is free of all hatred. Now, one may think that the word hatred is a strong word to use. But if we listen to teenagers and young children, this is their everyday parlance. Mommy, I hate you. Why? Because you didn't give me whatever I wanted. Same thing. So, starting with the mummy, everything is hated. And so there are these strong feelings. And this hatred is born out of Atma Ajnanam. This has to become very, very clear. The hatred is nothing but that which is born of self-ignorance. Why? Because if I knew that the self is non-separate from everything, then there is nothing to hate. If I knew that the self is the only thing that there is, even you cannot even say the self is the only thing in the universe. In fact, it is the universe that is a projection of the self. And so therefore, if that self is understood and if that knowledge is assimilated, then it is not possible also physically to hate anything, because there is nothing other than you. Rationale number one. And then self being the only thing there is only self-hatred and the possible, and self-hatred is impossible because the self is what you want to be. It is Ananda. The self that is described in the Upanishad is something that is always yearned by you. It's already you. And so what is there to hate? This is the jnani's understanding, the jnani's everyday understanding and expression. And that's why we have stories of saints in all traditions. Jesus was slapped, and what did he do? He turned the other cheek. And then like this there are so many stories of saints, because when we start talking about saints, it transcends organized religion. We are not talking of somebody who's able to do a puja. That person may be saintly. We are not denying that. Or somebody who is able to stand on a platform and preach the religion. That person also may be saintly. That is not being denied. But here we are talking about someone else, someone who has no truck with any divisions in the world. That is the saintly person here. And thankfully, in our tradition, this is the destiny of every human being. You don't have to wait to die to become a saint. In fact, this is something you have to achieve while living. What's the point of dying and then being exhumed hundreds of years later and one certificate stamped from the Vatican, okay, this person was a saint? What's the use? Yes, they can be a source of blessing for others, but what's the use of that? Here, the saintly say the sainthood is not something that is bestowed by some organization in the Vedic tradition. Sainthood is something that is discovered. Nobody has to. Sainthood is not like being knighted. The queen will take a sword and you kneel before the queen, and then she will say, "Rise, sir, so and so, dame, so and so." Nothing. And you don't even have to kneel in front of the guru and say, "Bestow me with the epithet of being a jnani." So free you are that you just get up and leave, because you know what the guru knows and you have regard for the guru. This is what the whole thing is. You don't need any authority figure, because you are the only authority of what is happening within you. So nobody has to give you some kind of a certificate of sainthood. Why? Because it is something to recognize as your rightful destiny and claim that saintliness. Because saintliness is a seed in everybody and it has to be watered. Some miracle grow has to be put. These are growth spurts. What is miracle grow? Miracle grow is like taking a 1 month course, a 2 week course. That is like a little growth spurt. Or even if you don't have time to study Vedanta because you're going through a very hard time in life, you're in a difficult situation and you have to put all your energy into taking care of that difficult situation, that itself functions like miracle grow, because in going through that hard time without being pressed, oppressed, depressed, you have already reached a certain level of accommodation. Life itself is a teacher. Universe is a teacher. Everything that you meet and greet in the world is a guru. Is a baby guru. Every situation is a potential guru. Lord Dattatreya had to, encountered 24 such situations and considered all those people who helped him grow as gurus. Very interesting. If you read Lord Dattatreya's life story, you can Google it and read it sometime. Very, very fascinating. Not now, okay? I said sometime. So this is the this is the beauty of this. The beauty of the first term here, Adveshta Sarva Bhutana, is a permission that one gives to grow into this saintliness, which is a potential, which is a possibility. So watering that saintliness is cultivating advesha, cultivate, because dvesha is a default. Sarvesham buddhau raga dveshau vyavasthitau. The same Gita that we are studying says elsewhere. In every mind, raga dveshas are already loaded. The mind is born preloaded with raga dvesha because it is born preloaded with atma ajnanam, self-ignorance. So that's not a big deal. The big deal is to override that, because the free will is also preloaded in order to override the hold of the raga and the hold of the dvesha. How to override? Just we are studying this just by cultivating these qualities. Tayor vasham na agachet. Watch the raga, watch the dvesha, do not come under its spell. Tau hi asya paripanthinau. That is the greatest enemy of the raga and dvesha are the greatest enemy, inimical to the sadhana, enemies of the sadhaka, the person who is a spiritual aspirant. And so therefore what? So therefore it behooves one to look at what it means to lead a life of non hatred towards objects, towards beings, towards everything in the universe. We should start with people because not liking some object or the other is easily overridden. And also one can engineer one's life so that one doesn't encounter those objects. But people are an entirely different situation. In fact, they are the bane of one's existence. They are unpredictable. They just, they cannot be changed. They are unpredictable. And then sometimes we don't choose them, and unchosen, they drop into our lives in the form of parents, siblings, employers, bosses, etc. Notice I didn't say spouse, because again it is possible to let go of the spouse with all these, divorce and all these other means that are there at hand. So this is how they drop in. And that which drops in is Bhagavan. First thing, that which drops in is Bhagavan and has to be treated as such, easier said than done. And therefore, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam doesn't mean that each and every person I have to settle accounts with, because it's not possible, and because you don't know who is going to come to your life in the future, and so therefore you just settle accounts with Ishwara, and Ishwara being everybody, and each Ishwara being manifest as each and everything, then the account is settled once and for all. What does it mean to settle accounts with Ishwara? It means accepting the fact that one cannot change anybody else. This is again easier said than done. But it is a fact that is awaiting your acceptance. The sooner that you come to terms with the fact that you cannot change anybody, unless they want to change on their own, then there is, there is no more Vedanta possible. In America, there is an expression that I like very much. You spot it, you got it. That means if somebody's qualities are rankling you, rankling, there is an irritating feeling. There is just like, why does this person exist? That means that they are triggering something that is unaddressed within you. Of course, this is the least favorite aspect of Vedanta for most people, because it's all an inside job. Here I'm having a little volcanic, what should I say, explosion about what I think to be a real situation, and it's nothing to do with me. I did all the right things and I had all the right reactions or responses. Still this person went out of their way to harm me. This is the human response, the default human response. But to grow into an Advaitin's response, a sage's or a saintly response, calls for a deeper look into this situation. Because for a saint, somebody who harms them is also equally dear as someone who does not harm them, someone who is not inimical towards them. The story of Adi Shankara comes to mind. In the Shankara Vijaya, a biography of Adi Shankara, there is a story. The story is some kind of a demon comes to Adi Shankara and says, he's a cannibal. And the cannibal says, I wonder what you taste like. I have never tasted a jnani before, and I want to have a jnani for my lunch. And I've noticed that you sit here and meditate. I'm going to have you for lunch. This was a declaration. And out of politeness, he was a very polite cannibal, gave him some notice, gave Adi Shankara some notice. So when is it convenient for you to come for my lunch. That is what he said. Let's have a date, and let's make a date for my lunch. And anybody else in Adi Shankara's place would have said, please come day after tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And before that, pushed off of there very nicely. Anybody else would have done that. That is the human, response to a situation like this. Yes, yes, yes. Come and, come and do this. And we have, in fact, the same thing that happens with the crocodile and monkey story. And, that's some other time. And then, so here, Adi Shankara had plenty of time to escape. He could have set the date and time for the devil, the not devil, demons, the Rakshasas' lunch, and he could have pushed off from there. Instead, he says, well, any time is convenient, no problem. But make sure he even helps the potential eater, the cannibal. He helps him by saying, make sure that, and he lowers his voice to a whisper, make sure that my student Padmapada is not around, because that fellow is very protective of me and will not let anything happen to me. Plus, come closer, I have to tell you this, this is a secret. What, the demon says. Plus, he knows karate. he will, he will just, he is very skilled in the ancient martial arts. And he is very strong. And he's got eyes at the back of his head. And so you be careful that you don't come, otherwise it's just a question of who's going to become whose lunch. You be careful. And as long as he's not there, then any time is convenient. As long as I'm meditating here, I'm just sitting and meditating. You can have me for lunch anytime. And the demon goes away, rubbing his hands in glee. After such a long time, I'm going to taste a jnani. After such a, this has been my life's desire to taste a jnani. And then the next day he comes, he looks around, looks to the left, no Padmapada, looks to the right, no Padmapada, looks above, looks below. Didn't look in the bushes where Padmapada was hiding. And he leaps on a meditating, or a Adi Shankara, or Adi Shankara was writing, engrossed in something, whatever he was doing. And then Padmapada before that leaps on him and floors him. And this is the story. And even though we are fascinated by this story, what stands out is Adi Shankara's many things, many qualities of Adi Shankara that are described in this verse. First is Advaita Sarva Bhutanam. No hatred at all towards anything, anybody. Then Maitraha, friendliness, because he's even giving him tips on when to eat him. Karuna. Karuna means what? Compassion. All this is evident in his response. Think of the extent of body-mind complex disidentification, a conscious program of disidentification, which is the result of the deep internalization of the message of Vedanta Adi Shankara displays. So, Adveshta Sarva Bhutana. So even though we enjoy stories like this, we just say this is not, I don't see this happening in my life. That's why we have Adi Shankara to join our hands and be inspired, but it's not happening in my life. May not be yet. May not be yet. And this is the beauty of emotional growth. The beauty of emotional growth is that it doesn't all have to happen right now. We have an expression, baby steps. What can one do to gain baby steps towards being an Adveshta? This is what we have to discuss. So, the first baby step is knowing that these raga dveshas are in me, and these raga dveshas, strong prejudices, preferences, likes, dislikes, objects of love and hatred, are in all beings. First understanding. And here itself there is some kind of a reprieve, a kind of a relief can wash over the mind, because otherwise one starts feeling guilty. How come I can't be like Adi Shankara? How come I can't stop having these pains and sorrows that make me very irksome towards the world and the people in it? So when you see that the raga dveshas are in everybody and also in me, when you are able to see that, then there is a relief, because we see the raga and dvesha as a manifest order of the universe. And if it is a manifest order of the universe, that means that it is there in me as well, in my antahkarana as well. Number one. Number two, that there are ways to override the raga and dvesha with the free will. How to do that? By seeing that anybody who hurts you is already themselves in pain. This is a very, very important recognition, because hurt and pain go together. And when there is deep hurt, it can only come out in two ways. One either hurts oneself, one implodes, or one explodes and smears the hurt onto their universe of people, things, situations, sometimes unfortunately even pets, who love you so unconditionally. That's why when we have all these animal cruelty videos and all these things, very difficult to watch. So, this is the first thing. I have a background that includes pain and sorrow. And my background covers my vision of the Lord in the form of the manifest universe. And just like I have a background that obfuscates my subjectivity, causes transference and projections. Because of the unconscious, there is projection, pratibhasika. And so, because unconscious means the unknown pains and sorrows that have made a home in the antahkarana, in the heart. Unknown because they have been blocked as a child. As children they have been blocked, and so those raga dveshas create an eclipse through which I see the universe, and it's always a distorted vision because of my pains and sorrows. I have to see that, and that's very easy to see because you can witness the pain. You can witness the pain coming forth in interpersonal relationships. Why did you do this to me? What have I done to you? And why is this pain here? Why is this person like this? Why is everyone mean to me? When we ask questions like this, that means that this pain is being experienced. And the pain never ever belongs to the present situation. Present time is free of pain. Present time may offer some difficult situations. Situations may be difficult, but to translate that into pain, sorrow, hatred, fear, etc., requires another step, that is the wrong internalization of this pain as I. This is what has to be snipped slowly over time. In fact, to cut the thread, sometimes you have to rub it over the Upanishad book repeatedly, internalizing, and slowly the thread, the wrong connection thread, frays. and then it's gone. That delinking has to happen. That in fact, Pujya Swamiji used to say that Vedanta begins when complaints about the universe and complaints about oneself stop. Complaints about the universe and about oneself, when they stop, Vedanta starts. A Vedanta person stops blaming the universe first and then stops blaming oneself. And the best way to do that is to see the whole manifest universe along with my likes and dislikes as Ishwara. Ishwara is the raga and dvesha. And then catch hold of the the shastra. Shastra means the weapon of asangatvam, the ability to watch, the ability to have that inner space. That inner space is asangatvam, which this observing gives. This observation that I'm not the only one with raga dveshas, and I'm not the only one with a body of pain, and I'm not the only one carrying pain and sorrows from early childhood. Everybody has it. Itself is a form of Ishwarization of this pain. And when this Ishwarization of this pain happens, then one is able to look at oneself with karuna, self-compassion. Oh yeah, it is this core issue being triggered. Oh yes, this is that pain from that feeling left out when I was 2 that is haranguing me at 62. This is the cognitive asangatvam. There is no translation for asangatvam, a kind of an uninvolvement. Frequently and wrongly, asangatvam is translated as detachment. There is no detachment here. What is there to detach from? Because you are never attached to raga and dvesha. You are free of raga and dvesha. So therefore, I have to get to the place of learning to watch it without prejudice. So I don't overlay the raga and dvesha while watching the raga dveshas. This is a kind of circuit. It's a vicious cycle. And so therefore when I watch the raga dveshas, the watcher is free from raga and dvesha. This is like a basic Vedanta 101 which is operational here, which is put into practice. That the watcher, the rubric is simple. The watcher is free of anything that is objectifiable and is objectified. So I am free of this. This is a wonderful thing. I am free of the raga dveshas. I am just looking at the raga dveshas and the body of pain in the form of raga dveshas with self-compassion. And then the free will is also Ishwara, because Ishwara is given the free will. So before one sinks into this, before this potential self-compassion turns into self-pity, before one sinks into this, one has what? One has the understanding the free will is also Ishwara, and I can use the free will to override the pain and the sorrow, so that my responses to the world don't come from a constantly triggered inner children. My responses to the world come from an acceptance, an acknowledgement and acceptance of my own background, along with the understanding that sometimes this background may flare up. Like joint pain suddenly flares up. Okay, so this is what is flaring up. And when joint pain flares up, you rub some balm, arnica. And when the pains and sorrows flare up, you rub some mahavakya balm. That's what. You contemplate on the Mahavakya. You revel, go back to the glory of yourself as described in the Upanishads. In other words, you stand in front of the Upanishad mirror, which doesn't trick you, which shows you exactly as you are, Satchidananda. So this is, so occasional flares may be there. That is also within the within the things that are accepted, loved up. So this is the first part. And what is the second part? The second part is understanding that when somebody hurts you, when somebody rides roughshod over your feelings, over your rights, over your possessions, over your emotions, over the state of your mind, when somebody is successful in manipulating you, in hurting you, they too have a background of pain and sorrow. This much we have to understand. Because the reason the hurt comes is because the reason one hurts anybody is because of one's own pains and sorrows. But this is where the analysis must end. If we start going deeper, what could be their pain, what has happened to them, then it's going to go down a very dysfunctional road of codependency. So here we just acknowledge whatever their background, it is beyond me. I don't need to go probe into it. Right now I just see that just like I have pain, and my background causes me to flare up at the world and at the universe, cut off people mid-sentence, cut off drivers with whom I'm supposed to share the road. I erode their rights in order to be able to hog the road. This is what I do. And then I am rude. I feel entitled and behave in certain ways. Why? Because of my own pain. And so, when I'm able to see that the other person also has a background, there is a very important transformation taking place. They may be hurtful towards me, but I am not taking that hurt as my own. Already one has enough pains and sorrows. But then if you internalize other people's hurts that are directed at you, which has nothing to do with you, which has to do more with them than with you, then there is your own hurt layered on other people's hurts that you have taken on, and no wonder life feels burdensome and not worth living. And so therefore there has to be a transformation. A transformation is that this your hurt that belongs to you, I just look at with the same love and compassion that I look upon my own hurts. And if I know that you are acting out because of your hurt, then why should I take it personally? This depersonalization is called asangatvam. And in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this asangatvam is going to be revealed as an important weapon to cut the self-perpetuating tree of sorrow, this tree of samsara. This is what the whole thing is. This upside down tree of samsara, where the roots are beyond perception because they are Brahman. And then what? One can only objectify the leaves, the twigs, the branches, the fruits and flowers. And then one is caught up in the world of the leaves, the trees, the branches, the fruits and flowers. And let's not forget, you have a nest. Let's say you are a bird in the tree of samsara. You have a nest, if not a nest egg. And then you have other people, other birds are there. They also have nests. And there is, of course, squabbling for all kinds of rights. And then there are predator birds who are waiting to see when you leave the nest so that they can have your babies for lunch. All these kinds of things are there in the tree of samsara. tree of samsara means it's a lopsided, upside down priorities. One's priorities are so wrong that one takes the real to be unreal, and when the real is not understood, the unreal becomes reality. Mithya becomes satyam. And so therefore, urdhva moolam, adhashakha, ashwattha. Ashwattha means shvona tishtati iti ashwattha. Shvaha means tomorrow. This samsara is not even there tomorrow. It is so ephemeral. It is here today, gone today. And still you invest it with a kind of a reality. You give it too much. You give it too much attention. Wrong attention. Ashwatha also, double meaning, banyan tree with adventitious roots. A kind of a tree where where the branch goes down, and then it first comes down in the form of some fronds, and then it takes root and then starts another tree. Then it shows the never ending cycle of samsara. That's why Lord Dakshinamurti sits under the banyan tree, cuts the samsara, whose wisdom, whose knowledge of the Upanishads cuts samsara. So then Ashwatham Prahuhu Avyayam. So even though ironically it means this samsara is not even there for tomorrow, it is so temporary, then still it is Avyaya, it seems never ending, because it perpetuates itself. Where the root becomes, the fruit becomes the next root, and the root roots and then becomes the next tree. And then what? Even though no one is rooting for samsara, it refuses to uproot itself. This is something that the Bhagavad Gita teaches. Chandamsi yasya parnani. So the verses of the Upanishad are the leaves that provide oxygen, the leaves that provide shade, etc. Is this knowledge of the Upanishad. And the one who knows this knows the truth of oneself. No more the one becomes an Advaita, one becomes a non-hater, a lover of the universe, a lover of Ishwara, a lover of the self. And then it says, Yastam Veda sa Vedavit. And then the branches which cause a certain identification with the body, mind, sense complex, they have to be cut. It's not that the body, mind, sense complex is cut off, the branches are what are cut off. That kind of an identification is cut off. The identification then, that which branches into sorrow, is what is cut off. With the scythe, the sickle of what is that called? Asanga. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. The scythe of non-involvement is what is needed here. Non-involvement is being able to, is not aloofness, is cultivating the capacity to be able to look at everything as Ishwara, and then look at everything with some level of compassion. So if somebody hurts me, that means it is their problem, not mine. Oh, so that means I should continue to be a doormat. Well, that is then that becomes your problem, not theirs. If you can remove yourself from the situation, remove yourself. Somebody is stealing from me, hide your things. That's all. Lock them up. If you don't want to be stolen from, have healthy boundaries. Somebody is manipulating me, have a talk with them. Have healthy boundaries. Whatever it is to do, you secure yourself, have healthy boundaries. We are not talking of that. We are talking of that which you observe constantly. And that sometimes there are people in the life, one is unable to, unable to allow that person to not get under their skin. Don't let situations, people, and things get under the skin. That is what is asangatvam. And cultivating that is as simple as first observing and acknowledging your own pains and hurts, and the ways in which you react to the universe in a subjective manner, and seeing that the exact same thing is there with everybody else that is ready to hurt you also. First, the first thing to accomplish. And the second thing is to learn to have some compassion for one's own pain. Allow the pain to be flooded by self compassion. Yes, there was hurt. Yes, I couldn't do anything about it. Yes, I seem to have internalized it. Yes, I'm willing to be free of it. Yes, it is very painful sometimes. This is why there is Ishwara. This is why there is Ishwara as Karma Phala Data. Invoke Ishwara as the giver of the fruits of action, and the giver of the fruits of action can alone take away this hurt. Through prayer, through bhajans, through devotion, this hurt is slowly overcome. Through sitting with it, through applying the balm of the Upanishad, the hurt is first managed, and then through Vedanta it is completely overcome. And then we come to the essence of the first term here, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam, where the jnani is able to even help the person who is charging at them and saying, I want to eat you right away, when is a good time. So the person is given the time and date, or you can come any time, but make sure that this student is not around. That is the next step. And that you cannot suddenly go there, otherwise one will be just masquerading as a jnani. And that person also, Lord Krishna has a name, Mithyachara, the one that is an impostor. One without being compassionate, masquerades as compassionate, is an impostor. So here we are not asking one to become an impostor. We are asking one to first acknowledge, reverentially, prayerfully, that the world and the people in it have been hurt in their childhood, and that there is a capacity to internalize that hurt, and that also has happened. And just like I have been hurt, and I have a background of pain that sometimes comes in the way of my own transactions, so too other people have a background, and that's why they have the potential to hurt me. So their hurting of me has nothing to do with me. It is their problem. Throw the ball back into their lap. Do not take on the other person's hurts and sorrows. And after these steps are accomplished, you can look at your own pain with compassion, not self-pity, compassion. Yes, this was out of my bounds. Yes, these are core issues. Yes, I need lot of grace to overcome them. And similarly, you look at other people's hurt also with the same eye of compassion. Karunaksha, with the eye of compassion when you see, then what hurt? Where is the hurt? Who has the capacity to hurt whom? More we will see next time. I will post the dates, I'll post the dates on the website, and then you can look at them, because we are also having some time change by the time the next meeting will be there. So I will post the dates, and then you will know. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. I have left some time for questions if anybody has questions. You're welcome to ask. You are welcome to unmute yourself and ask, or you are welcome to type in the chat pad as well.
Hari Om
Okay.
Swamiji.
Om.
Om. Um, my question is from childhood to up to age 40, 45,
Yeah.
having that hurt and things we have done, we have hurt someone and hurt feeling and all that. Is that a papa, and by now doing the study, getting knowledge, that remove that?
Yes, yes. Short answer, yes, definitely. Of course, it is Papa, because when you hurt somebody, it is Papa. I mean, you don't intend to. So there is a little bit of Papa is there, but still they are crying as a result of whatever one has done. So yes, it is Papa. And then the study of the study of Vedanta, it does removes the Papa by removing the notion I am a papin. That's how it removes the papa. It falsifies the notion that I am accruing papa punya. Thereby removes the papa. Kshiyante cha asya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. And so, yeah, so this is, and then on an empirical level, the study of Vedanta can be seen as a prayashchitta, as an act of atonement, like you mentioned, so that one grows into not repeating those behavior patterns. Yeah. When one dwells on a pain or cause, sometimes the process is so uncomfortable as it brings one's own faults to the foreground. At that time, I feel like squirming and getting out of the thought. To squarely face it, one does? What can one do? Very nice question, Vasanti. Yes, I'm sure everybody will be benefited by this, by the answer, and in fact, everybody has this question. Well, get the, sometimes you can, if you tell yourself that I'm going to look at this issue once and for all and overcome it, then that squirming and the wanting to focus away from it, and then the wanting to get distracted, wanting to go find something to eat, will all come up. So therefore, in short terms, short little things, yeah. So you say, I'm going to look at this issue for 1 minute and put a timer right next to you. Squirm, sit there, squirm and jump around in place and say, no matter what, I'm just going to sit with this pain. I'm going to embrace this pain. I'm going to be the adult and have a cup of tea with this pain. I'm going to say, okay, pain body, what do you want to say? Okay, inner child, you are very cute. What do you want to tell me? And then after 1 minute, I'm going to just take a breather, go do something that I enjoy. So, like this, in slow increments. And after 1 minute, you don't go immediately go to 45 minutes. You go to 2 minutes of sitting and squirming, and so on and so forth. Okay? Yeah. That is what it is in short measure, small things. So discomfort is addressed in minute amounts every day, and then it doesn't become poisonous. That's how they had these arsenic dancers in ancient India. So these arsenic dancers were, when they were children, they were fed a little amount of poison every day so that their body became immune to the poison, and then they were sent to the enemy camp, and then they were made to dance there and everything, and if anybody touched them, they would die on the spot. So this was some kind of a secret warfare type of thing. Another question: isn't it true that if I don't give a chance to others to hurt me, isn't it a choice you make? Yes, you can tell yourself that, but even if you don't give a chance, people may hurt because of their own pain, because you can't change them. You can just be responsible for your own boundaries, but sometimes there are people who violate those boundaries. Boundaries invite violation. That is the point of boundary. If if there is no boundary, nobody feels like violating, perhaps, or perhaps they violate and the Gyani has no boundaries and the Gyani is impervious to this. But then if there are boundaries, then because the forbidden fruit is very tempting, and so therefore it is, if there are boundaries, one will definitely violate. And instead of getting hurt at the violation of boundaries or may strengthening the boundaries, better to watch the person and their pain and give them back their pain to deal with. Whether they choose to or not is a different thing. Give them back their pain and say, okay, I am impervious to, I'm already free of your pain. That is what it is. So that is a choice you can make, that I choose not to be burdened by other people's body of hurt, pains, and sorrows. That will be a very nice choice, actually.
Om Swaminiji,
Oh,
just to
oh,
expand, this is Satya.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
welcome.
just to expand on that, I'm dealing with a situation where one person constantly feels that I'm not doing enough or not doing enough to help them out of a situation,
Yeah.
and but but at the same time, whenever I say something, they feel that I'm putting them down,
Mm,
or that I'm being judgmental,
yeah,
um, when that is not at all the intention.
yeah.
uh, so how do you respond to that, and how do you not get affected by what they tell you?
You tell Ishwara in your prayers every day, may I always do the best I can, and acknowledge to Ishwara, I am doing everything that I can. May they be able to see that, if not today, someday soon. So that would be the first thing, to pray for them to change, to be able to see that. And I don't know what you are saying to them, but one thing to say to them is to be, when after this prayer and after your own hurt with regard to this situation goes down, the barometer goes down of that hurt, you can look at them with utmost love and say, that you hope that they will be able to appreciate everything that you do sometime soon. That's all. We just look at them with love and be able to say that someday. And that can't happen until you stop taking on their hurt and feel like you have to automatically respond to their perception of some need that is unfulfilled. You can also try saying to them, next time they say you're not doing enough, you can just very quietly say, like Pujya Swamiji used to say this all the time, that is your perception, isn't it? He would say that. And he would just let it go at that. He would not try to explain, he would not try to, elaborate. He would just give that back. That is your perception. Oh, it appears that that is your perception. I've heard him say that many times, interpersonally in conversations. Because people used to come and say, Swamiji, you're not paying me attention. Swamiji, you're not doing enough. You did this for that one and that for this one. You're not doing this one. And then he would just quietly say, with a smile on his lips, that appears to be your perception, isn't it? And if the person was a sincere sadhaka, that means there is homework to do, to look at this perception. So you throw the ball slowly, not with hatred. You don't hit them with the ball on the head. No, you just gently, playfully give it back to them. Here, catch. You're giving this to me. This is your ball. How did it come in my hands? Here, back to you. Have fun. That is what it is. So you can just start by smiling a lot more around this person and saying to them, this looks like it's your perception. That's all.
Thank you, Swaminiji.
Oh, anything else?
That is a brilliant advice, Swamiji. I am right now facing similar situation. And thank you, Satyaji, for asking that question. And
Yes,
Geetaji, your question was also something that has been lingering in my back of my head for a long time. And Somniji's answer was something that kind of um, really is towards the answer. I mean, I'm still in question. I have more questions on that, but definitely give gave me good light. I mean, I am so grateful for these sessions, really.
well, I'm happy it helped. It is all Guru's grace. It's Pujya Swamiji talking, really. It's all his
Yeah,
words, it's his ideas. And that is what these sessions are for. Advaita in
right.
daily life is just to really look at all the blocks, look at the difficulties in applying the lessons of the Upanishads in our waking moments. That is what the whole thing is. So that's what these sessions are for. So
Obviously.
knowing and becoming is like the cup and the lip. Yeah, big distance, big miss
Mhm.
between the cup and the lip. Please advise. Thankfully, there is nothing to become between the cup and the lip. If there was an elixir that you were trying to drink and it spilled all over your shirt, then you can say, oh no, I missed it. But the elixir is you. You have drunk the tattvamasi. You are already that which you want to be, quote unquote, become. You are already that. So it's a question of discovery. It's a question of taking cleaning the mirror of the mind and the heart, to make it free of ragadveshas. That's where the thing is. How do
Right.
we apply Ishwarizing towards children in terms of discipline and holding them accountable? Children are Ishwara, their tantrums are also built in, and they are also, that is also Ishwara. Your ability to discipline is Ishwara, and then in their life, you are Ishwara because you are in charge of raising them. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you have to do whatever you have to do. So the role of the mother, the role of the father is a role. Let not the role roll into you, the devotee, you, the person. So as long as the role is kept as a role, then you say, then you pretend to be angry. Just like Mother Yashoda was angry at baby Krishna. She pretended to be angry. She used to tie him up. She used to do all kinds of things. So that's what you pretend. You play the role. It doesn't change the love. It doesn't do that. So you play the role of the parent. So everything is done apparently. That's what it is. You play the role of the parent. You enjoy getting angry at them, and you enjoy setting limits, and you enjoy being Ishvara. This is wonderful. The children give you the feeling that you are Ishvara. You are the creator because they don't know any other creator. So you are the stand in for Ishvara. So this is all wonderful. Enjoy it. Is there an age where we start backing off because we realize they are Ishvara as well? Well, whether you start backing off or not, they will start backing off from you. Don't worry. That will come. That's called teenage. Even before that comes tween age. And in the Hindu circles, we have to learn when to stop parenting as well. And I have a cutoff age. When age 50 is hit, you stop parenting. Oh, so when I am 50, no, when the quote unquote child is 50, please stop parenting. Okay? Yeah. Then, yeah, so that is what. There was one more question. Can you please elaborate on the role of Shat Sampat in overcoming Raga Dveshas? Yeah, I'll do that next time, because why rush through it now? Remind me again. Um, if I hurt someone and in the light of this knowledge I understand I am not the papin, would that not lead me to not take responsibility and accountability for my actions? How does one get over regret and guilt feelings? Excellent question. Well, if you hurt someone and if you understand that you are not the agent of the hurt, that understanding does not absolve you of accountability. Accountability is there. You go say sorry, you go to you do atonement, you do amends, because it's an act of compassion. And so the knowledge is directed towards someone who is naturally dharmic and accountable. So, first one minds the papa and punya before being exposed to the knowledge that one is free of papa and punya. Otherwise, this knowledge would be the defense of every habitual offender. Your Honor, not guilty. How do you plead? Not guilty because I am not an agent of this action. You know, this is everybody would plead like that. So, so therefore, the this knowledge is for people who have dharma as their kavacha, who has dharma surrounds them. Dharma is their security blanket. They live dharma, they breathe dharma, they get to the place of doing of becoming almost incapable of transgressing dharma. And then what else? Yeah, the other question: how does one get over regret and guilt? You um, you go say sorry, or do whatever it takes to be accountable, and the guilt feelings, and regret will be helped with that. And then you pray to Bhagavan and lay bare the guilt feelings and give it to Bhagavan to take. Just say to Bhagavan, you are the one, you put these feelings to me, here, catch, take them away. When chanting Shanti Mantra, what do you focus on? Everything. You focus on the experience of it, because the matras, the swaras, everything, they give a certain ambience. And of course, when you know the meaning, you just internalize the meaning as it's being chanted. Okay? Yeah. So next time we will have a little, we'll take a little trip into the 6 qualifications of managing the mind. All right? So somebody should please remind me. All the best. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I chanted it again so you could enjoy it. All
Thank
the
you so
best. All the best.
Thank
Take
you.
it
Thank
easy.
you very much.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
time. Yes. Om. Om.
Om
Om.
Swaminiji.
Om. How nice to be with all of you.